Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are live. We are live. Happy Sunday to everybody who is tuning in. I want you to know that I appreciate you all being here. And you're listening to my good buddy, some music I recorded with artist Jerry Hutchison many moons ago. You know, so just thought I'd start there and hope everybody's doing well. Arthur, I see you're in the house. Anybody else? Anybody else? Just say what's up, say what's happening, and we'll get right into it. All right. So, and folks, say hello. And hope you all are doing good. Let me straighten out the camera there a bit. I ain't gonna be looking at no crooked images, but I hope you guys had a good week. My week was fairly eventful, I'm sure, as yours was on some level or another. And we'll get into it in a minute. Arthur, what's up, man? Not much. You know, I'm doing okay. Hope you are doing well as well. Yeah. Clip Wilson, what's up, my brother? I'm good. I'm glad you are here. Neo Gear Gamer, yo, what's going on, bro? Hope you're doing good, man. And so I'm weighing in. What's happening? What's going on? Talk to me, people. I would like to know how your week was. You know, again, get back to my original mission. It's not about me all the time. It's about you guys. And if I was sitting here talking to myself, that's absolutely whack, and I wouldn't do it. But I appreciate you all being here. Whether the numbers are great or the numbers are small, you know, I really do appreciate you all. So let's see. So let's weigh in. Let's talk. Tell me what's happening in your worlds, what you're working on. If you're working on any new music, I'd like to know, you know, the genre, the style, what your goals are with that music that you might be working on, whether you're trying to acquire a new piece of equipment, what your thoughts are, and let's dialogue, you know. So let's talk about those things right now. All right. Yeah, Trusty Studio, what's happening? Not much, man. You know, life. What can I tell you, bro? Life is happening. You know, things move forward at a pace sometimes that you have a hard time keeping up with, if you know what I mean. But yeah, but it's all good, bro. Arthur, I watched your vids on buying a budget mic. Yes, there are quite a few budget microphones out there. You know, in anything that I purchase and in anything that I use or have used in the past, you know, I've always done research on to make sure that I'm buying the best at the cost or the amount of money I'm about to spend, in other words. And those things are very important when you're a independent, you know, studio owner. And if you're trying to acquire equipment, it's important for you to know the specs on the equipment so that if you are offering your services on a commercial level, that you're giving your clients or those you are servicing the best of the best, you know. So those things are important from a spec and a technical perspective. And I don't think that it's wise to ignore the technical aspect of whatever it is that you're what you're using. I think those things are very and highly important. So let's get into some questions real quick. Okay, so Neo Gear Gamer said he is about to pull the trigger on the Neve clone. Well, I mean, you have the pick of the litter out there. You know, it gets down to budget. I think right now, and I mean, I'm not trying to put one against the others. I mean, you have Heritage, you have Warm Audio. two of the best. The reason why I'm staying on this side of the pond on the issue with warm is because of the times we are in. If you need to have your equipment serviced, you know they're right here in Texas, and you might have a bit of an issue if you have a technical problem with your equipment and you're reaching out to someone in Spain. That doesn't make their equipment inferior. Just, you're erring on the side of caution in case your stuff goes down, and that's what you don't want. So I would say just, you can't go wrong with the warm, as an option. You definitely can't go wrong. So if you're looking for a decent Neve clone, then I would say lean in that direction. The warm WA73 or the 73 EQ, whichever one your budget would allow you to purchase. John 415. Hey man, how are you? I'm glad you're here. And Forever Los, what's up, my brother? I appreciate you all being here. Trusty Studio asked me what's happening. Not much, man. Trying to return to some measure of normal. And everyone's normal is different. For me, it's going to be a minute because of the business that I'm engaged in. Where I have to come in contact with people. So there's a whole lot of precautions that I need to take prior to me reopening and reoffering myself. I got to make sure that I'm covered from a liability perspective because I don't need any drama from a legal perspective, and when you're a business, you got a lot of stuff that could, cut your knees from out under you, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm just, dipping my toe into the water and gradually trying to phase things back in. But so we got Arthur, we got Clip. Okay, Clip says he had a productive week. Been looking at a few new pieces of gear. He got his eyes and ears on the 251 and the WA73. Both very good choices. I'm not sure what type of music you're doing. The 251 has a character all its own. It's not a bad, but I think it's, for me, if I was using it as a mic that's for me, for my purpose and my use, I would use it more for ballads and more softer type vocals as opposed to any other type. I mean, you can use any mic on any type of vocal, but for my ear, I would use it for a ballad type of a piece of music, that if that were me. But you can't go wrong with those pieces, so definitely look at them. Okay, and Arthur said he got a modded Studio Project C1. Those are some killer mics, man. That's another mic that I think the Studio Projects that people sleep on. And I understand that marketing has a lot to do with it. Don't get me wrong. I understand how companies operate. Okay, and their job is to sell, and maybe Studio Projects doesn't have the corporate structure, doesn't have the finances in place for a massive marketing campaign, if you will. But those microphones are definitely killer mics, and if anyone's looking for a good budget option, that C1 is a very good microphone to look at. And John says he likes the Warm 47. Yeah, that Warm 47. I don't know, man. I'm gonna tell you. I think, other than maybe the newer Telefunken that is out, that Warm is probably the closest to the 47 the Neumann that I've ever heard. That I think that's the closest match, other than the new Telefunken that they've released. But like many of you heard me say, my first encounter with the 47 was with artist Angela Frederick many years ago, and we were at Battery Sound, and it was a late night session, and our ears really perked up when we heard her behind that 47. So that's definitely a mic that will make you sit up and take notice. And I think the last time I had that experience with a newer iteration of it was with the Telefunkens that have come out, as well as this Warm 47. So if you're looking at it, I would say snatch it, because you can't go wrong. Trusty Studio, I will get back to you. You got to send me the Dropbox link. I will check, and if I didn't, I will somehow connect with you some kind of way, or if I'll put a notice in the community tab letting you know whether or not I received anyone's videos, but definitely will be in touch with you on that level. Mr. Smooth says he's a little late. I say that you're not. I'm glad you are here, my brother. And guess who's in the house? We're going to shout out Mr. Pirate Brain. What's up, my brother? It's good to see you here, man. He asked me if I'm out there protesting in New York. Nah, man. Hey, man. I mean, hey, I'm going to get on my political soapbox for a minute and I'm going to get off. Protests, keep it peaceful. Wrecking stuff does not achieve the end goal. And I'm off the box. Okay. But no, I haven't been out. And, you know, from what I can see, the police ain't having it. They out there in full force. They got certain, you know, streets locked off and everything else. And rightfully so. Folks shouldn't be out full and breaking up people's stuff. That's just absolutely stupid on so many levels. So stupid people do stupid things. What can I tell you? You know, let's move forward. And so Mr. Smooth says he's here for the knowledge. The cold hard truth. I'ma give it to you, brother. You know it. I'ma give it to you. You know, I'm not gonna you know, dilly dally around. You know, because I am still. I tell you, I mean, my largest video on YouTube right now is that comparison between the heritage, and I think I stoked a measure of debate. But now the debate is so, you know, unnecessarily accurate that it's like, come on now, folks. It becomes that at this point. And everyone is entitled to their opinion. Don't get me wrong. And you could voice your opinion. But I always say that your opinion has to come from an informed place if you're trying to help folks to understand your objective. There's nothing wrong with having an opinion, but if it's coming from some obtuse left field perspective, then who is it benefiting anyone other than your ego? You know, so you can have your opinion. Just make sure that it's going to help everybody when you are sharing it. You know, everybody's ear is different. Everyone's likes are different. Just like I was saying about my usage of the 251 on a ballad versus someone else's usage, totally different. It doesn't make my usage right and your usage wrong. It just makes our ways of wanting to work with this particular piece of equipment different. No right, no wrong, you know? So let's take some more questions. And here's a random question. Enoch John. Well, hey, I want to listen. I gotta acknowledge my brother from the UK, Enoch John. First time seeing my live stream, and he loves my videos. Thank you, man. I appreciate you for saying that, man. I really do. It's great that I'm to have this level of outreach. You know, I really do appreciate my brothers from France as well as from the UK who reach out on the regular. Thank you for tuning in. I realize that there's a huge time difference in terms of your being here, and it's a sacrifice. And I don't take anyone's time for granted. So thank you for tuning in. I really do appreciate you being here for the first time. Enoch John, folks. So let's move forward. And ZBDTV, random question. How do I feel about the Blue Kiwi? It's a great microphone. If you want to hear it in action, a good friend of mine, Gerald Trotman, and what's Gerald's? I'll put the link for his record. And I'll tell you a little story after that. For Gerald's record, it's on iTunes, and you could listen to it in action. But I remember when I first, met Gerald. Great composer, by the way. I mean, Gerald is no joke. Gerald has had a profound impact next to Dr. Stephen Jablonski. I think there's no other, and rest in peace, my good friend Eric Huff, who I met Gerald through. There have been no greater people to have a more profound impact on my level of musicianship, as well as in my understanding of music on a deeper level from a theoretic standpoint than Dr. Stephen Jablonski as well as Gerald Trotman. period, point blank, full stop. Gerald is no joke. But he uses the Blue Kiwi. And when I first met him, he was like, hey, man, listen, I need you to stop by the studio. I'm doing some things, and we just started talking about I have a little place. When I got to Gerald's studio, it was like not little. He was like so modest and humble. Man, had equipment up the wazoo. As a matter of fact, he was the person who turned me on to using Motu's interfaces in the beginning. And yeah, he uses the Blue Kiwi a lot. So that's a great microphone choice if you're thinking about it. And Mr. Smooth asked about which Telefunken are you talking about. I think they re-released the 47. They have a newer iteration of the 47 that is absolutely killing. Spec-wise as well as sound-wise, you really can't beat that microphone. It sounds really, really good. That's the one I'm talking about, the Telefunken 47. Let's see. John 415. The Chameleon Lab 7603 is a good 1073 clone. Also, yeah, I've been reaching out. I reach out to companies. I don't know. I mean, I have an opinion about why they don't reach back, but I actually saw the guy Marcos, I think his name is, who is the owner of Chameleon Labs at the last AES. I didn't stop to talk to him, but I did reach out to him because I think next to Rupert Neve, he is the closest person that has that level of interest and passion for how his equipment sounds, down to everything from the design as well as a technological standpoint. But I want to get my hands on that 7603 because I heard it's a really, really good sounding piece. Let's move forward. Mr. Pryor, you know it, brother. Thanks for the love. Most definitely. Thank you for being here, man. Like I said, y'all know, brother ain't gonna sit here talking to himself. I'm past 40. I'll be like, yeah, it's time to commit this dude to a crazy house. He said, I've been talking to this one person. No, even if it's one person, I would oblige one person. But if I was here and there ain't nobody tuning in, that's whack. So, Star Studios, hello, brother. Hello back at you, my brother. I'm glad you are here. Man, forever lost. We appreciate you. I appreciate you too, man. Here's Salters Zoe. Trusting that I am well. If you were to allocate cash in a recording line, instrument, mic, pre, console, audio interface, what do you think would merit the most cash spent on? It depends. Okay, I'm gonna rephrase this question. If I'm understanding you correctly, you could say yes or no, but feel free to correct me. If you had the cash, how would you allocate whatever money spent and where? Okay, it depends on the person. Why do I say that? I know someone who recently built a brand new facility. Two people I know. I'm not certain how the other person paid for their place, but it is downtown Manhattan, and right now it's just sitting empty. Okay, I don't know how they funded it, but they got new everything. Top of the line API console, top of the line mic priest, everything. Okay, you got to think, and the other person I know financed their place, their new project studio, $15,000+ in cash. Financed. Okay, you got to think. This is my approach from a business as a businessman. How are you gonna make that money back? You have to be able to justify why you're spending and where. So, in terms of hierarchy, the last thing you want to drop a huge sum of cash on is a console. Why? The technology changes often. Unless, what retains their value? The newer iterations of the Neves, as well as maybe a few of the newer iterations of the APIs. But that's not the first place you run in terms of allocating your cash. Where you get your, if you fall on hard times, you always hear me talk about a rainy day equipment. If you got to spend that cash, if you got it, microphones, preamps. Certain companies, Neve being at the top. If, again, rainy day, you got to think, okay, God, the lights got to stay on. I got 10 1073s. You could make one of those 1073s fall on the sword to pay the rent. This is some of the stuff that these people are facing right now because the studios are empty. Okay, so where would I allocate the cash first? Mics, pre's, mics, the preamps, interface, and then maybe everything else, depending on what clients I have lined up. Okay, then you could spend as needed. That's my approach. Yours may be from a hobby standpoint. Then it's, whatever you decide to spend and where. Excuse me, because it becomes less important for you to meet your expenditures month over month. Everybody's situation is different. Mine, I got to keep some lights on, B. So I got to make sure that if I'm about to drop X amount of dollars in cash, that I'm going to be able to make that money back some kind of way. So, everybody's situation is different, Arthur, I'm going to get back to your statement in a minute because you are raising some very good points. Okay. ZBD TV. Let's talk about what you're saying right now really quick. And then we're going to talk about today's topic about, Slate products. I don't know, man. My thing is that I've seen technology change so often and so rapid and so often to the point where you got to be really, really careful how you allocate in your funds. Here's a case in point. I think last week I mentioned I had gone to Sam Ash Professional to purchase one thing and got sold on something totally different, which is now wound up becoming obsolete. That happened to me more than once, as a matter of fact. I had gone into Sam Ash once to buy an Akai S900, and the guy was like, yo, you got to get the new Roland sampler. So it was a little bit more of, a hot-rodded version of an S900, and I figured this is newer technology, let me buy it. Stuff changes. You wind up dropping $1,200, $1,300 on a piece of gear, and then technology advances, and you stuck with a lemon. You know what I mean? So you got to make sure that this equipment is servicing you for the long haul. I come at it from a perspective where I have to work. So these pieces, they're just tools in the toolbox. If you have the cash and you want to be able to spend it on the Slate because you want to experiment with it, that's fine. You're throwing the curveball like Slate Digitals. I don't know. I know what I know about the Slate stuff is, to me, it seems very gimmicky, and I know someone that had a Slate console that sent it back. That little, you touch screen, and it looks cute. You got a client and you slapping around like you playing. What's that movie with Tom Cruise when he was, touching stuff on the screen? It's all virtual. Yeah, it looks cute. That's about all. It ain't making the music sound better. You know what I mean? So, if you want to wow a client, then cool. But I don't know, man. I stay clear of anything that's gimmicky. And he said, you want to thank me for the very famous Heritage versus Warm audio steering me in right now, huh? Warm Pieces in Love. Yeah, Warm is making some serious inroads. And you all have heard me say this before, because he's mastered the economies of scale. But guess what? He's not the only one that's doing it like that. And we're going to transition. Minority Report. Yeah. You remember that movie? He's up there in virtual world, playing with stuff, man. But it looks cute, but like my mama used to say, everything that glitter is not gold. Sometimes the tried and true, you turn in the knob is what's going to get you there. So, yeah. Yeah, the Thriller album had a lot of SM. This is Arthur. Also, he says the Thriller album had a lot of SM7B and Harrison mixing consoles, so I'm always mystified that there is not one clone. I think Harrison has a 500 series. They have 500 series modules out. I think. Harrison consoles have a sound to them. They're like the Sound Workshop 34C. You know, they're not a company that, other than the fact that Janet Jackson, Jimmy Jam, and Terry Lewis used it in Flight Time, and other than the fact that, you know, Michael Jackson and Bruce Swedian, you know, and probably Quincy Jones can swear by the sound of the console, but, you know, they're not like one of the brands that has had, other than the Thriller album and maybe a few Janet Jackson, you know, one-offs here and there. It has a particular sound that can become all your own depending on the artist you're working with. But it's not a sound that is known like Neve or SSL. You know what I mean? So, you know, I think they do have 500 series modules. It's a sound that, you know, like, I guess you would have, they say it's an acquired taste, you know, and it has to be a tool. And for Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, it was a tool. For Bruce Swedian, it was a tool. You know what I mean? It was more about the performance with Quincy Jones and with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis with Janet's records than anything else. So it gets all the way back to musicianship, man. You know, these are just, you know, tools in the toolbox. You know, if you got whack, you know, theory chops and you don't understand how to put song together, song form, you don't understand harmony, you don't understand how melody works, then it's not going, the tools are not going to help you. I used to be that person until I became the other person, and it's just a lack of education on my part. You know, I didn't understand. I thought that if I go to a 24-track studio, it's going to make my music sound better, and that's not so. It's musicianship. Because Bruce Springsteen, I think once upon a time, did a record on 4-track. As John Mayer did, I think The Daughters. You listen to The Daughters demo, he did that on a 4-track. You know, so it gets down to musicianship, man. Okay, Arthur, you said a lot of British pop used the Harrison in the 80s. Yeah, Human League. Yeah, well, the Human League, if you're talking about the I'm Only Human, that was done by Jam and Lewis. And that was on a I don't know what other, I don't know if it was like maybe Rick Astley or if any of the, we're talking British pop in the 80s, Duran Duran albums, you know, which I absolutely love. That's a killing group. I don't know if any of you youngsters are familiar with a lot of these British pop bands, but they were Peter Gabriel and the Soul album. They were killing in the 90s, man, and the late 80s. So if you want to tune your ears to some good music, that's the direction you turn it. Star Studios wants to know if I have checked out the Cranborn interface. I'm citing to know your opinion, but I haven't, because I had a weird week, you know, where I was, you know, trying to quickly prepare for this, and at the same time I had some other things I need to take care of regarding some yard work I have to do, which I gotta get to today. So if a brother cuts stuff short, you know, you gotta understand. Wife been on me about taking care of the cleaning of the patio furniture, so got me a little power washer that I'm anxious to start using. All right, no more being silly. So today we are unboxing a Lewitt Audio LCT 240 Pro. This came at the request of someone who sent me a message wanting to know my opinion on one versus the other. And I looked, without even handling the mic, I looked at it and automatically saw that there was one glaring major difference. I didn't give him an opinion on it because I had never used it. But what caught my eye and what made me pick the mic up and decide to give it a second look was one thing. And the weight of the mic was the weight of this microphone is identical to the weight of the LCT 440, which is what I'm talking into right now. Now, there's a few things we're going to do today. I'm going to, you hear me speaking into this microphone now. I'm going to share the differences between the two from a technical standpoint. And then mid-stream, I'm going to go dark for a second, and then I'm going to put this microphone in, and then let your ears be the judge. Lewitt is a company that I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. I'm finding out that Lewitt is a company that some of the design people had close ties to AKG. Pedigree. Here we go with that again, right? You can't beat pedigree, folks. So when folks are running around going to Sweetwater and you got this huge buffet of microphones, keep pedigree in mind. You know, I'm jumping giant steps backwards when one of my assistants asked me, why do you have so much DBX? Why do you have so much of this, that? It was because these were the few pieces that were, staple in studios when I would be outside. So I thought, well, if they have it and it's working here, it's going to work in my place just as well. Lewitt has managed to mimic the warm audio business model. Now, I have had an opportunity to talk on a deeper level with Bryce at Warm Audio. We sat down and we chatted for a minute, and he let me, he shared with me some insights from a corporate standpoint, the things that were happening to him, why they were happening to him negatively from his competitors, that is. And I believe with what he shared, if his competitors would model or accept or adopt his business model, maybe they would do just as well. Getting back to Lewitt, excuse me. The company Lewitt has mastered economies of scale. Folks, every business does it. Car businesses, computers, Intel, Boeing, all companies do it. If you have to build things in a massive amount, and you know that you're going to be selling many units to consumers, why would you buy one of this or 10 of those? My goal is to sell as many microphones as possible. So what do? I do two things. I buy the componentry in bulk. Buy it in bulk. When you buy in bulk, you pay less money. It is cheaper to buy 10 rolls of toilet paper from Costco than one roll of toilet paper from the corner store. It's economies of scale. These companies understand that, listen, I want to make an inroad into manufacturing microphones. So what do? I buy in bulk. I buy all the components in bulk. Now, take that business model and marry it along with the pedigree of AKG. What do you have? An extremely successful company. Period. So what they've done, they bought in bulk. They have the pedigree. Third component that's missing. Now, folks have their opinions on this. They manufacture in China. That's why the items are so inexpensive. It costs less money. If they're selling this microphone in the store for $150, it probably costs them less than $50 to make this mic. Period. Does that make the mic inferior? Absolutely not. On any level. Why? Because they have the pedigree. Not only that, they knew that this is my perception. I don't have this as inside information. This is just based on research I've done. They knew that, listen, if we want to compete and we want to put ourselves out there as one of the go-to microphone companies of the millennium, then this is what we have to do. They've set up their entire operation to be able to successfully test these microphones to spec, and they have an exacting standard that they want met. And if it doesn't meet that standard, based on probably the AKG engineers, it gets scrapped. They designed the mic on paper. They source the components in bulk. They go to China for the cheap labor. What do you get the benefit of? A microphone that can kill at $150. Who's the benefactor? The consumer. So they figured like this: if we could make a killer product at a killer price and sell it in bulk, these things are only costing us, $50 to make. We sell it at $100. That's a 200% markup. So every mic they sell, they're making 200% profit. I think that's a good idea. So what caught my eye about this microphone was the weight. Automatically, it said 310 grams. I'm like, wait, whoa. The LCT 440 is 310 grams. What does that tell you? The mics have the same guts. They're the same exact mic. Here's the difference. Capsule size. Their capsule size on the LCT 240 is smaller. Now here, when you look at the spec, okay, I'm just pulling up mine as well. Just bear with me for a second. These are the two specs you want to look at. The equivalent noise of the mic, as well as the sensitivity. Those are the two things that are going to give you the true sound of the microphone. You know what I mean? How much gain do I have to give this mic to bring it up to a level that's, decent without a whole lot of noise? Now, the noise spec to me is not that great. That's because the capsule size, that's the wrong spec, this one, the capsule size is smaller. It's like a 1/2 of an inch or 2/3 of an inch in size and in diameter versus the 440, which you can see right here. When we pull up the 440 spec, let me just get that on my end as well. The 440, the spec on that is a 1 inch in diameter capsule. So the capsule size is changing two things. The equivalent noise. It drops by, in this case, 11 dB to 7, and the sensitivity is a minor difference of about -4 dB. Does that make the mic, one mic better towards the other? I don't know. I have never used this microphone. I have never opened it. I have never held it. I've never utilized it on any level. Does it make one better versus the other? I doubt it. The preamp is going to make the difference of a microphone. Now, when I pull this thing out and handle it and look at it, we already know that we have a smaller capsule. So keeping those things in mind, okay? That's automatic. That's going to be one thing that's going to affect the sound. Bigger capsules give you a bigger sound. It's just like, an elephant's ear. You know what I mean? If you think about their eardrum versus yours, maybe they could hear a little bit better. I'm just assuming, I'm no zoologist. I'm just using that as an analogy. Maybe, when you have a bigger transducer, you can pick up more information. In other words, that's my point. So by using a 1 inch capsule, you're bound to get a better noise spec, a better sensitivity spec, and in this case, you're going to have maybe a larger than life image or a sound coming off of the microphone. Okay. I believe personally that I don't think there's a better microphone right now. And I'm really going out on a limb, even without using the mic. I don't think that there's a better mic right now in the market, spec-wise or otherwise, that can compete with this thing. Just based on pedigree, design, you know what I mean? Design coming from the AKG pedigree, as well as just their overall approach to making sure that the microphone is manufactured to exacting standards. Now, if you go on Lewitt's website, I know Warren Hewitt did a tour of the Lewitt facility, where they show you, they have a chamber where they put the mic in and they test the self noise spec and all this stuff. These people are not playing, folks. Like Warm Audio, they are out to change the way or change the approach to professional audio recording at home. You know, so when you get these people at Sweetwater, you know, whose my relationship is starting to wane with them for more than one reason. You know, trying to sell you, do your own due diligence and research and figure out whether or not this mic is going to suit your specific needs. At the price point, it makes sense to have one. It makes sense to have one because the mic is just $150 to start out with, you know, and the spec. And see, this is why I have another high regard and respect. And then we're gonna get into the unboxing. I have respect for any company that is willing to stand behind their stuff. If you're willing to go to, you know, I don't care, I'm going to do a tour and, you know, become a product evangelist for, you know, my product, you're willing to go out to the market and stand by what you're selling. You got to have respect for a company like that. That's why I was like, you know, all beside myself about Universal Audio. They got their product development guy out there doing the do for them. And that's what's important. You know, if you can't as a company, and I don't care whether you're manufacturing microphones or if you're manufacturing preamps or whatever, if you are unwilling to show people what's under the hood and to stand by why you designed this thing from a technological standpoint, then you're just in it for the profit, man. And some people, you know, like, you know, they approach it from a mission standpoint. My mission, like Bryce's mission, is to make sure that he brings quality product at a price point that everyone could afford. Now, how do you do that without economies of scale? He's a businessman, folks. These people at Lewitt Audio are business people. They understand economies of scale. Now, every company can't operate like that. They just maybe have expenditures and the overhead that, you know, will prevent them from doing that. You know, but keeping those things in mind, that is why that microphone is so cheap. According to spec, it's 310 grams. I'm going to open it right now, and I'll tell you what weight, and then I'm going to swap it out for the 440 and let your ears be the judge. So let's grab it. And here we are. So let me look at some questions really quick. Let me close that. And all right. Paul D. Clifford, the U47 is gold. Yes, it is, sir. I am glad you are here. And your voice to the 440 is pristine. You know, the 440 is the spec on it. Okay, let me just, before I get in, I gotta, you know, say, I have to say this. When I bought my first professional microphone, it was an AKG C414 BULS. I was given some good advice from a colleague who said, listen, if you can only buy one, and I'm passing this information over to you all. If you can only buy one microphone, make sure that that microphone is going to serve the purpose that you intend to use it well. Now, the 414 has a very flat frequency curve. The 240 and the 440 have bumps in the frequency curve at the right places, which makes it a killer vocal microphone. So, I mean, listen, if you don't have enough money and you know you're going to be recording vocals, the bumps the bumps are in the right place for vocals. That leaves you with less of a responsibility to equalize. Don't be so quick to reach for the plugin. Oh, I gotta EQ this. No, use the mic to EQ. Now, I knew when I was buying the 414, I was recording all sorts of music, all sorts of types of vocals. I needed to use an EQ because everyone's voice timbre is different. So I had to have a ruler flat, okay, frequency response. That's what that mic gave me, because I knew it was being used on multiple vocal types. But if you know you're like maybe just dealing with one or two genres of music, why not get a pre-EQ'd mic? Makes sense. You don't have to use them plugins, because some of y'all is plugin junkies, B. I ain't lying. I got a friend of mine, man. I was that guy. They sold me in the beginning, buying all these plugins. I got every Massenburg Design Works, Focusrite, this one, that one, what's the other people? Metric Halo and all that. Man, you spend thousands of dollars on. Do it make the music sound better? No, period. So why you got all them plugins? Stop being plug-in junkies, folks. I am opening this microphone. Stop being plug-in junkies. Reach for the microphone. Let the mic do the EQing for you. If you got a pre-EQ curve, which this has, it has the bumps in the right place in the 2 to about 6K range. I mean, coming right out of matching it with the proper preamp, you ain't got no problems. You don't have a reason to have to add a plugin. Maybe just to tame a few, or even to remove room nodes out of the source. But beyond that, there's no reason for you to have to EQ the vocal. You know, so that's another story for another day. Here we are, unveiling her. Okay, so we have at the top 240 Pro. See, presentation is everything with me, and these, you know, you gotta have the right presentation. You know, package well. Here's the quick start guide. Nice pouch. I would rather get a hard case, like a Pelican case for it. You know, take care of your equipment, you know. So I put that on the side. Boop. You know, foam windscreen. You know, here we are. Another one of these little bands that I threw up here. I'll throw this one up there too. A nice mic clip. It's cute. I wouldn't use it, but you know, nevertheless, you have a mic clip to get yourself started. And here she is in all of her glory. So let's put this down for a second. And I can tell you off the bat, it has some weight. It has some weight. So, no, okay. This is almost identical. This is almost identical. No. This is very well made, folks. Very, very well. I mean, God. I mean, you know, kudos to Lewitt. This is a buy. Put this in the buy column, folks. Put this in the buy column. I mean, even if you don't have use for it, just buy it. Just buy it. You know, it's like that extra mic if you're trying to build a mic locker. Yeah, the capsule is visibly smaller. You know, I don't. Oh yeah, you can see it. The light shining around. You see it? And if I shine the 240, I don't know if I'm there. I'll just turn it around for you all to see really quick. 1 second. 1 second. What is wrong with you? Got the wrong microphone. 1 second, like I'm talking into this one. Yeah, if you see the you see it? You see how big that capsule is, man? versus this one. You can see. You little baby. You the baby. You the baby. Compared to that massive behemoth in there. So is that going to affect the sound? Yeah. I mean, but it's not that serious, people. I mean, it's serious in certain circumstances. Don't get me wrong. No, it is important. Size does matter. And so, like if you have a single overhead for drums, I only have one mic. Well, you need the largest capsule you can. And I've used a single 414 on a drum overhead, and it sounds great. Okay. So, yes, the difference is primarily that you will see is, wait, hold on a second, P48 Cardi. Does that say the same thing in the back? I'll see in a minute. But the obvious difference is that the capsule is much smaller. Does that make a difference? I don't know. Let's just I'm talking into these habits, man. I'm acting like I'm talking into the mic. Let me go dark for a second and swap this one out for that one, and we'll see. Just give me a minute. Okay. All right. Yeah, I can hear the difference. I don't know if you can, but yeah, it's a tad bit shy in the power area, in the fullness area. But does that make it bad? No, it just makes it a lot more focused. What would I use it on? With just hearing it the first time, what I would use it on. Miking an acoustic instrument where I'm trying to eliminate a lot of the outside of the sound of the curve. See, I mean, because maybe the pickup pattern is a little bit different. I can hear that it's the tightness and the focused feeling, if you will, of the sound. So there is a difference. It doesn't make it bad. I think you need a lot more power because I'm still reaching for it. And you say, it requires a lot more gain. So rule of thumb, make sure that you have a, because in the beginning, I'm just jumping back really fast. Keep in mind, I didn't change the gain on the preamp on my end. So now I'm just giving it a lot more gain on the preamp so that I could bring it up to a decent level. Make sure that if you're going to pair this microphone, you have a decent preamp. That being regardless of whether it's a Heritage, if you a Heritage or the Warm 73s or the Chameleon, whatever you have. Would I trust this microphone with the onboard sound of the interface? No. Nope. Mr. Pirate Brain says it's more sibilant. It probably, that will probably be a characteristic of it. I think the frequency curve is a little bit on the, bumped up at the top of 6K, so you might experience that a little bit more. I'll roll the top off a little bit, just a tad bit, not by much. And you definitely need a decent preamp. I would reach for something that can output and give you enough clean gain. Operative word, clean gain. On a budget, the Focusrite ISO 1. If you're on a budget, you'll get the perfect impedance match as well as enough clean gain. On the used market, the because I don't know why folks keep leaving these ISO ones on eBay for like $250, $300. So if you're on a budget, you see one on eBay, grab it. It's a good match for this mic. You want to experiment with warm products? The WA73 is definitely a perfect match impedance-wise, as well as the ability to give you good, fat, clean gain. That particular preamp will probably give you a little bit more girth, so if you're in a little closer. And I could even hear the proximity effect doesn't have the same girth that you would get if you were using the 440. So that's the major difference. You know, the capsule size. I mean, look at the size of that thing. I mean, you could look at it. You know, the other one is tiny. You know, it's 2/3 of an inch. This is 1 full inch. So you're gonna have that as a difference. So any questions? Paul says a little less body, right source would be sweet. Yeah, you know, it's specific. I mean, for the cost, it makes sense just to have one. I mean, it ain't killing the bank. You know, I would rather have more than one option than just one option. So if you have like a WA87 or a Studio Projects, you don't have a lot of cash, you want to add to your mic locker, there it is. $150, a very well made unit, you know. So CJ Clan said not as warm, round on the bottom, slightly crispy on top. Focus. Yeah. You know, it's, like I said, it's very specific. You know, it's probably going to suit the person who maybe wants to record acoustic guitar. You know, I would imagine it might sound great at the top of the neck when you're trying to focus on just the strings, and you got something more towards the back of the body that's going to get the girth and the width of the guitar body. So yeah. Arthur says a little brittle. Yeah, I gotta agree with you on that. But that's a characteristic of smaller capsule microphones have quicker transient response, which means they will respond to those quick transients faster because it's less mass. It's just physics. You know what I mean? And that can be good. That can be bad. It depends on what your I would use this on maybe a snare drum. You know, it would probably make a great snare drum mic. Hi-hat mic, provided you don't have somebody bashing around. If you know someone who plays like maybe and lighter, and you don't have to give it as much gain, you just want the crispiness of the hi-hat, that would be a good purpose for it as well. I would imagine it would sound great on like violin, viola, not so much cello because you need girth with a cello. Mandolin, banjo, any stringed instrument. Would I mic a piano with it? Acoustic? Not an upright, or maybe the top of the strings on a grand piano. You know, with the right preamp combination. Yes. You know, I mean, this is a budget solution. You know, pair it with the right preamp, and you got yourself a killer mic chain. So any further questions? Paul said he got the WA76 EQ on, I think you mean WA73 on. Okay. I noticed that power band be a little less by it's a little light on the top end. Arthur, he raises a good point. Here's a good one. That he has the TLM 102 and the high end breaks up easy with the high surprise. Yeah, I got rid of both of my TLM 103s for that very reason. One day I was recording Tasha Jordan, very, very, very talented. You look, if you go on Facebook and look her up, very, very talented singer. She sang with so many people. God, wow, yeah, she has quite a resume. But we were working on some demos for Terrence Talley, and you know, she has a very bright top end to her voice, and I found it to be too brittle and crispy as well. And that was one thing about transformerless mics. You get a little bit too much brightness at the top. You know, a little too much purity, if you will. So, yeah. Let's see. Not as warm around about, So, if there's no further questions, this is the sound of the Lewitt Audio LCT 240 Pure. My final analysis is buy it. Add to the mic locker. I mean, why not? Why not? It's not breaking the bank. You know, it's like going out and buying the studio projects. It's not going to break the bank, but they're good mics. You know, so yeah, definitely. Okay. Further questions? Any further questions? Questions? You are hearing me talking into the Lewitt Audio LCT 240 Pro. Great sounding mic for the money. If you're on a budget, it's definitely a must buy. Okay, so here we are. Did you ever try out Audio Test Kitchen 300 mics and instant online testing? You know what? I'm gonna tell you something about that. An instant online testing, I don't believe what's going on in Audio Test Kitchen. I don't believe that. You know, sometimes it's best just to get it in your space and use it. Because one time I was listening to something and I declared it all sounded the same. And I'm like, there's no way. And I just kept listening over and over to different mics and mic pre. And I was like, nah, something's up. So I would, in a situation like that, and this is from Salter Zoe, I would definitely try and get the mic in my space. And listen, nowadays, if it doesn't work, you can send it back. Nobody going to begrudge you sending that back if it doesn't work for you. Sometimes these salespeople, not putting Sweetwater on blast, yes, again, for more than one reason, they sell you. Their job is to make a commission, folks. They're not pros. They're not even aspiring pros. They're salespeople. They've never taken the dive to make the investment to there's a fly flying around here. You'll see me trying to knock a fly out. Flying in my face, man. But yeah, their job is to sell you. So if they get the commission, they're mission accomplished. We sold yet another fill in the blank. Then they want to give you a beef when you sending stuff back. Had that happen. So that's why, listen, anyway, I give them Sweetwater enough money so I can say what I want to say about them. They be playing themselves on the regular. Anywho, Mr. Smooth says, I wanted to ask you what you thought of the WA87. I think it's a decent microphone. I think it's a decent. And I hate the U87. I am no U87 fan. But I think it's a decent microphone. Don't get me wrong. And I just bought one just to have one. That's the only reason why I bought it. Because, most of the people who know me know that Warren hates a U87. I never forget somebody put them things up. I was doing a session once. Guy put them things up on my drums for the overheads. I was like, oh, God. They just don't. I don't know. You know what? There is no one size fits all. And this is another thing I have to say. Just reflecting on that session real fast. There is no one size fits all when it comes to recording something. That's why I'm saying just buy this microphone. And his approach to recording my drums on that day was coming from a perspective of a rock engineer. But I was on a jazz session. You know what I mean? And I didn't particularly care for, the way the microphones sound on my drums. Period. You know what I mean? Doesn't make him a bad engineer. It just makes his approach to being an engineer on that date, that recording date, one-dimensional. Oh, well, this is how he had like literally 4 sets of overheads. There was a front-facing pair of 87s, and then he had KM84s spot miking all the cymbals. I'm like, that's like ridiculous overkill for a jazz date. But to each his own. I was just, there to record. But I didn't particularly care for that setup. But the W887, I think, is a very good microphone to have. It is very well made. And again, everyone, if you pair it with the right mic preamp, you'll be fine. Mr. Pirate Brain wants to know, what do I think about the Audio-Technica 4050? I like it. I have two 2050s. I think I like Audio-Technica. One of my first microphones that I ever owned was an ATM 31. You know what I mean? As a matter of fact, a lot of the vocals that I used to record years ago were recorded, and people can't tell you whether it was a U87, not because I had decent enough preamp, but were recorded with an ATM 31. You know, and that's a small diaphragm microphone, and it sounds great. You know, so I do like the 4050. You got to hear when you're close, huh? The Gurner, man. Still waiting on that video, Gurner. I'm going to move on now. Arthur wants to know, what do I think of Townsend Lab Sphere and the UAD software and mic emulator? Yeah. I can't give you any opinion of anything by Townsend Labs and UAD mic emulators and all this other. I don't know. You know, my approach to it is that it may work for you. If it works for you and you've A/B'd things, then, you know, more power to you. You're coming from an informed place in terms of, you know, I like how this sounds on that. Everybody is different, you know, but I don't know if you heard me like last week talking about the quick fixes that sometimes people look for in software, and I'm not talking about you particularly. It's just I'll give you an example. I had a session with, this guy was a pain in my behind, but they were good clients, but the producer was a major, God, he was a pain in the behind, Lord. You know, he used to lean over my shoulder. He'd be like, yeah, can you do it? And he, you know, he's so close in my ear, like he trying to kiss me. I'm like, dude, get off of my back already. But he was like that type of person. Yeah, can you move? Anyway, he was the type of person, this producer, you could be a marginal vocalist, and his thing was like, I'll auto-tune it. I'm like, what? He would go in and literally micro-tune notes. That's just insane. I'm not micro-tuning a whole performance. At your dollar, I'll do it. We want to spend 8 hours micro-tuning notes to the key of the song? That's fine. But sometimes nothing can trump or beat musicianship. You know, so I mean, whereas these mic emulators and all these things may come close to the real thing, there's nothing like the real thing. You know what I mean? I mean, nothing will change my first impression of hearing. Nothing ever will change my perception of hearing the U47 for the first time. Nothing will change that. The WA47 has come very close, as well as the Telefunken, but that first experience. So if your frame of reference is using mic emulators, then that's going to be your frame of reference. It may work for you. My thing is like, give me the real thing. I need the hardware piece. If I put them side by side, then I can give you an informed opinion. Other than that, I really can't. You know, I'm sure that some of these things come very close, but you're talking about zeros and ones versus voltages. You know, computers have problems too. You know that maybe the mathematics on the computer might just jack up for a second and then cause the sound to sound a little messed up for a minute. So again, everyone's mileage may vary. Okay. Oh, Paul wants to know about a 47 FET. To me, I think a FET microphone, FET 47 sounds good in certain circumstances. Very punchy. It sounds great on the outside of the head of a kick drum, whether you're using it from a distance, from like a 18-inch jazz kick, or whether you're up close trying to get, maybe you're gonna get the fatness of the egg or the Shure kick drum mic, and you're gonna have that on the outside to get more of the knock or the fullness of the shell. I think it has certain instances where it will work. Warm has allowed the market to again have access to a quality FET 47, and again at the price point, it's a good one to add to the mic locker. I just have a way of using FET 47s that doesn't warrant me even buying the warm one right now because of the way I like my drums to sound. You know, everyone's circumstance is different. If you just want to experiment, warm has allowed you to experiment at a not so expensive price point. So I would say buy it. You know, if you could get your hands on the warm 47 FET. Okay, Arthur was talking about the SM81 Jazz overheads on mic. Yeah, that's a very good microphone for overheads. I've used it in the past. And for you drummers out there, another good option is the Audix i5s for overheads. That's a killer sound. The first time I heard it, I was like, oh, snap. Especially if you're doing like hip hop or R&B type drums. Definitely a killer sound. It keeps the sound nice, tight, and focused. You know, because of the capsule size and plus the dynamics, and the dynamic range on those micros like 150 decibels. So of course it could take banging around from a hip hop or a R&B drummer. You know, Shazam is in the hizzy. What's up, brother? He said he grabbed the Behringer Poly D. Really? Wow. I would like to hear what that sounds like. You know, that's going way back. I think I got a little bit too much gain on this mic now, looking at the level. Yeah, that's going way back, man. It has the core poly. I think that's the synth you're talking about. So that's, yeah, a killer sound. So Mr. Smooth said, I heard you speak of the WA-47. You think it's a great mic for R&B vocals. I know it's subjective, but okay. Oh yeah, man. Yeah, you gonna get a killer sound from that, B. Killer sound. If you got the right vocalist, and they got good mic technique, you're gonna be loving it to death. You're gonna be loving it to death. Paul wants to know R&B like Aretha. No, Aretha it had a lot of girth and control to her sound. I don't know if you all remember me saying sometimes ago, a long time, about 90, Jesus, wrong. 2003, I had the opportunity to do a date with Vanessa Bell Armstrong. And I was highly distracted by her live vocal technique. I was stunned, effortless. I mean, Jesus, I work with some, but effortless singing, you know. So, you know, Aretha's in that vein. They can give it to you when they need to give it to you, but they could have such good control over their dynamics. It's killer, man. Shazam said auto-tune is trash. You know, I mean, it's good in certain circumstances, but I think people have become too reliant on it. You know, thinking, okay, well, I can tune. No, it doesn't make you a great singer. You know, it fixes things here and there. You know, and then people don't even know how to properly use it, man. They're using it like it's the end all be all. No. You know, and then you get folks that don't even have any idea as to how to use it within the framework or the musical framework of the composition. You know, you got the song is in the key of C and you got the auto-tune set to D flat. That's retardedness. Period. It got to be set to the right key so that you have the right notes that you're honing in on. If you're going to go C chromatic, then that's one thing. But you set an auto-tune to D flat, the song is in C. That's, oh God, I've seen it all, folks. I've seen some stuff like why are you doing that? So anyway, anywho, let's move forward. Yeah, everything, Shazam, all turns trash. Yes. Do you think the WA-47 pairs well with the WA-273 EQ? Yes. Okay, we're talking about pairing microphone and preamps. Keep this in mind. All microphones have a load impedance and a required impedance. So if your microphone's rated impedance and a required load impedance, if your microphone is rated at 100 ohms, try to pair it with a preamp that has greater than 1000 ohms. That would be any 47, any 1073, the Focusrite, okay, and any preamp that is rated greater than 1000 ohms. Don't forget, microphones are like resistors. They present a resistive space, if you will, and the preamp's job is to overcome that. But if a preamp is not properly designed, it's going to overcome, it may be able to overcome the resistance, but it may add noise to the source. That's what you don't want. That's why I say that any of the latest iterations of a 73 is a good choice, provided you know what the load impedance is that it's going to provide. Now you get people that switch the impedance. Oh, I'm gonna change the impedance from 1.3 to 300 ohms to change the color of the mic. Okay, you could do it if you want. It just makes no sense. It makes no sense. It makes the mic sound dull at the top. If you want a dull sounding mic, go buy a ribbon mic. Okay, but to use the impedance for that purpose, it's a creative usage of it, but from a technical perspective, you're presenting somewhat of a problem, and as an engineer, you want to solve problems and give the best, technical support, if you will, to the performer that you can give them. Now if you're experimenting, that's one thing, you know what I mean? But, I'd rather, if I wanted to change, I'll just use a ribbon. I want a darker top end, use a ribbon. Okay. FMR RNC is a killer vocal colorist. Great bus. I'm sure it is. There's so many, I forgot the really nice compressor, RNC, the really nice compressor. I'm sure they have good products, but again, whenever you're buying something, this is for everyone. Let your ears be the judge. If it doesn't sound good to you, then it's not good for you. You got to be happy with what you're hearing. And if you're not, then walk away. Walk away. Cool Drizzle is in the hizzy. What's up, my brother? He said he's thinking about getting the DBX 166 vintage 2-channel compressor for vocals next week. Do you think it'll be good on vocals? Hang on a second, 2 in my rack. So I think I've answered your question. What type of vocals? I got to ask you that now. Don't forget that it's going to require you to have not such a heavy hand. One thing about DBX compressors, you can hear them in action when the over easy kicks in. That may work for you. That may not work for you. You know what I mean? It gets back to getting the equipment to work well with the performer. That's the best advice I could give you. If you find that it's not working well for the performer because they have poor mic technique, like I said, you may find yourself, banging your head against the wall at some points. You just can't be heavy-handed. You gotta, be a little judicious in how much compression you're expecting, gain reduction rather, you're expecting the compressor to give you. And get away from these folks that, I need to hear it. You don't need to hear a compressor. The job of the compressor is to tame dynamics. You know what I mean? So if the compressor's not working, it's because the source is less than dynamic. But the minute the source becomes dynamic to the point where it, crosses the threshold, then the compression kicks in. But to hear a compressor, go back a couple of streams about my whole thing with people that's turning knobs. It makes no sense. That's not real life usage. Now when I'm using I haven't used the the 76 that I just got, but using the KT2A, Sometimes you may need to, but you got to be looking at your needle and see what the needle in terms of gain reduction, how much gain reduction is it giving me? Because maybe you may need to make changes on the fly, but trust me, you won't hear it. If you're starting to hear it, then your compressor is not set up properly. You know what I mean? Because maybe now it's offering a little too much, change to the sound. Excuse me, I was just swatting at that dumb fly again. Flies, man. Anyway, let's move forward. Yes, sir. You got this. Oh, Mr. Shazam said he got the SM7B. Yeah, that's a nice mic. I got to get one of those eventually. I've never really had a use for SM7B, but I think I'll just get one just to have it. I have looked for on occasion for them on eBay. Like if I see one that's a good price, I'll probably grab it. But because I haven't had a need for one, but it is a good microphone. That and the Sennheiser MD421. Those are good microphones to grab. If you see them on eBay for like $100, $200, grab it. It's just I don't have a need for it. That's all. But if you're adding to your mic locker and you're looking to add to your mic locker, then definitely those are good options. I'm still speaking into the Lewitt Audio LCT 240 Pro. Earlier, we did an unboxing as well as me swapping out from the 440. Okay, and it requires a little bit more gain on the preamp. And there's a little less of a fuller sound and a little bit more of a crispier top end because of the design of the mic and the capsule that's being used, which is 2/3 of an inch in diameter. So what you're listening to is the Lewitt Audio LCT 240, and earlier I was using the LCT 440 Pure. So on replay, if you're just coming in, you can go back and listen to the differences, jump forward and backwards. I'll probably in the description put locations where that transition changes so that people can jump back and forth and listen to the differences. Okay, let's move forward. Okay, I have an Apollo system. Have the 70. Do you think the Flock audio will be a good addition? Okay, ZBD TV, do me a favor. Send me an email, okay? Because that's going to be a pretty detailed answer for you. So just send me an email and we can chat that way, all right? And I just wanted to quickly get to everyone's question because sometimes I feel really bad. I mean, leaving, I look back at the playback and it's like, oh snap, I didn't answer that question. So, I just want everyone to know that, I'm still looking at their questions. I just want to make sure I get to everyone. Okay, and that's true. He says if anyone, ZBD TV says if anyone has an opinion to share, and please do so because that's what it's about. Community, folks. We got to help each other. Let's jump forward. Pirate Brain got the Behringer. I don't have. For those of you who want to know, I know there are newer iterations of some former Roland type of processors, whether it's the Junos or the 808s and things of that nature. Maybe back in the day I had more of a need for them than I do now because I've returned to doing more acoustic music, But I think that they're good options if you're one that's going to be doing that type of music. Excuse me. Okay, and Arthur, the reverb. Okay, Paul, how do you? Paul. Okay. ZBD TV just sent a. If you guys are looking in the comments, Paul, he asked you a question, and okay. CKJ Clan said it's funny, but he forgot that I was still on the 240. Yeah, your ears get used to it. It's all the same thing. The same design element, is in the microphone. It's just a more focused type of sound. You can't go wrong with it. That's for sure. Paul D. Clifford. Okay. That's good. You know, I had a thought. You guys are talking about the dangerous tube bus, and when we were talking about the UA systems last week, I have a slight feeling, and if I don't live to see today, remember this. I have a slight feeling that Dangerous is going to get into the audio interface business pretty soon. I got a feeling. Just based on their ecosystem and how people are using their products and how they've expanded how people are using their products through the years. I think that's going to be the next step for them, because it just makes sense, you know, from a perspective of trying to achieve that console sound, if you will. And I think UA is banging on the door, and I think Dangerous Music is going to follow suit pretty soon. You know, you could, the signs are there. The signs are there. Even with the Apollo X series, the signs are there that these people are trying to really capture the purity of that console sound. So keep your eye out for that. Mr. Smooth wants to know what I think of summing. I think it's a good idea. I think it's like good for anyone whose frame of reference has been sitting behind a console like myself, you know, who's used to that sound. I think the kids that are coming up nowadays, their point of reference is mixing in the box. So that's their frame of reference. And, you know, there's a crowd that wants one particular sound versus the other. You know, you have to know what you're trying to capture. And I do think summing is a good idea if used with the thought in mind that you're going to inject analog flavor and timbre into the sound that you're trying to process. I think the approach from maybe people who have had this bad experience with summing was that, oh, it was a magic bullet, and it's not. It's meant to be used as a facilitator to give you an analog character to a digital sound, you know. And in order to appreciate that, you would have had to have spent some time on some level of mixing on an analog console, so that you know that, okay, yeah, I'm getting exactly from this unit what I would have gotten from a console. So everyone's perspective might be different. I think the kids, as they're coming up today, they're more, you know, inclined to have mixing in the box as their frame of reference. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that for some of us, we prefer, you know, the sound of mixing on a console. And that's what summing will provide you, provided you utilize it in the same way that you would have approached console mixing. You know, I'm saying a lot, but that's just my, you know, perspective on it. Let's move forward. Summing yeehaw. So, this has been good. And I'll take a couple more questions and then we're going to wrap. Keep in mind, let's just recap really fast. We opened today a Lewitt Audio LCT 240 Pro, smaller capsule, large diaphragm. I know that sounds like a little oxymoronic, but it's a large diaphragm microphone, but the capsule in and of itself is 2/3 of an inch versus 1 full inch. I showed earlier the size, and I'll show it again, you know, because it's out of the loop right now, but look at the size of this capsule versus the size of the 240, and there's no comparison in terms of the fullness that you're going to get from that microphone versus this one. Does it make it bad? No, it just makes this mic more focused. So if you know you're trying to get rid of maybe extraneous room noises and the vocalist has good mic technique, then this may work well for you. You know, so keeping those things in mind. Theo Henry, the GOAT. I don't know about that, brother. That's my son, for those of you wondering. My son, no, he was no joke. I mean, I wish I had 1% of his talent in terms of basketball. He was like rated very high in New York. I'll share his story in future episodes, or maybe he will. But he's become, I'm gonna share this as a perspective of encouragement for someone. My son was on his way to Division I basketball. On his way, he was ranked in the top numbers of New York City Division basketball in high school. He decided he did not want to play after going and competing against some very, very talented people from all over the world. At 5-star, he felt that this wasn't the right fit for him, and that's okay. But I told him, I said, you were on your way, and God only knows what would have happened if you had stuck with it. He is now a sports photographer, and he has a degree in sports. Theo, you could chime in sports management from SONY, Genesi, and he's been photographing for the New York Nets. New York Nets ain't no New York Nets. Brooklyn Nets, the Jets. He's photographed some really, really high powered people in sports. And I said to him, he took a picture of him standing on the floor at the arena in Brooklyn. And I said, it's surreal. I said, it's funny. Here you are standing on the floor. I said, you got to the NBA one way or the other. And my point is that sometimes you just can't lose sight of your dream. Sometimes, you may detour and you may get off course, but, all roads will always lead you to the place that you are inevitably supposed to be. So that's for somebody today. You always get there. You just can't give up. But it was a lot for him as a basketball player and as a very talented ball player. Sometimes the responsibility becomes greater than what we're able to handle at the moment. You know what I mean? So for those of you who are aspiring musicians, you may feel like you're plateauing. Engineers, you may feel like you're plateauing. Everybody plateaus, but you got to keep pushing forward in order to get to the next level. When you feel like you're plateauing, that's the time to push, not to retract. He wasn't plateauing, he was on his way. But when you hit against some serious talent and you realize, hey, I'm just a small fish in somewhat of a even smaller pond, you realize that, maybe I'm not willing to give it as much as I, should at the moment. That's the time to push through, because you just never know what's on the other side. You don't give up. You just got to keep pushing, man. And he made it to the NBA one way or the other. Now he's photographing for the Brooklyn Nets. So you could, Theo, if you get a chance, just put your Instagram at the bottom and folks will see some of the folks. I don't know. He was photographing someone from the Giants the other day. They were doing their workout. And, that's his occupation. And he's become when God takes away one talent, he gives you another. And his talent is now photography. And he enjoys it. And he has an eye and a talent for it. So sometimes you just got to keep pushing. That was for somebody. Let's get back to the point. Paul. Okay. Cool Warren says, I use the Ensoniq NS251 tube condenser microphone for rap vocals, and it sounds good. I just don't see many people talking about this microphone on YouTube. You know what? Like I was saying earlier, there's a lot of companies, boutique companies, that are putting out product. Folks, advertisement costs a lot of money. Now I'm going to use myself as an example. When I used to run a small gospel label, you know how much a quarter of a page ad costs in Billboard? Man, it's expensive. And they ain't running it but once. You know what I mean? So you got to think that these smaller boutique companies just don't have the advertising dollar. They are making killer products like on Five Fish Audio. I have a couple of, you see the blue preamps right on my, would be on whatever perspective, but you can see right there next to the Focusrite Reds. Ruel Okendo is a very talented boutique preamp maker. But they don't have the money to be taking out ads and it costs money to compete. So when you come across companies that are just doing it, you know, if it's working for you, it's working for you. So yeah, more power to you, man. If this is in Sonic NS251, I'm sure it's a great sounding microphone. Probably built to the same exacting standard of a 251, you know, but you know, I mean, there's these tons of boutique companies out there, man. Mr. Smooth said, I appreciate my insight. Most definitely, brother, anytime. Oh, my son just put his Instagram up there. It's at artsy lens 7. If you want to check out his Instagram, you can see all the work that he's done. And yeah, very, very talented, you know. So you know his story. Well, that part of it. Now I can't get into all the detail, but yeah, he could play some basketball, man. He could play some basketball. And it's Mr. Smooth said they are a very helpful company. Let's see. What else? Cool Jizzle. Okay. ZBD TV wants to know how you can email me. My email is at the About page. So if you need to get in touch with me like that, you just reach out to the email that's on the About tab of the channel. Okay. Here's a good one. Oh, ZBD TV says Paul is the go-to guy. He is my resident go-to guy today. Paul, you got another message, so you need to connect with ZBD TV. That's what it's about, guys. Connection and community. So let me just quickly wrap up. Okay, with a couple of key points. Key point number one. For $150, you can't go wrong. You're not losing in that respect. That's point number one. Point number two. It's a bit more, bright at the top end. That may work in certain circumstances. You may find yourself having to roll off the top end on the EQ if you're using it for vocals or certain types of vocalists, primarily those vocalists that, have poor mic technique, where you're telling them, okay, maybe you want to less than pronounce your S's, and they have a tough time in that area. So that's something that you have to look out for. $150, can't go wrong. It has the EQ bump, at the right places for vocals, making this a good vocal microphone. Okay, for the first time, large diaphragm microphone purchaser. You can't go wrong in that area. Which one would I reach for first if I was doing critical work? Of course, the LCT 440 Pure. Why? Because the capsule is 1 complete inch in diameter. Look at the size of that thing versus 2/3 of an inch. Size does matter in terms of 2 specs when you're buying a microphone. Capsule size matters in the spec of sensitivity, meaning how much gain you're going to have to give the microphone, and self noise, meaning that a larger diaphragm microphone is going to have a better self noise spec than a smaller diaphragm microphone. Okay, so keeping those things in mind when you're purchasing, this is a very good buy for $150. And for the person who's a little short on cash, this is something you could grab. And even for those who are trying to build a mic locker, which I suggest everyone does, $150 is a small amount of money to have to spend on something that's going to give you performance that is greater than $150. Okay, so ZBD TV and Mr. Smooth says congrats to Theo. Oh, another one. CKJJ Clan said congrats to Theo as well. And it's in thanks, more blessings to everybody. Okay, cool. And that's what it's about, yo. This was good. It was a great unboxing. I know my wife is looking for me right now to come in. I'm going to get my hands on that power washer too, because I got some garden equipment. Some, garden furniture that I want to, practice on. Anyway, but yeah, so I got to get to that. But I appreciate all of you being here. This is a very good time spent, as well as knowledge for those who want to maybe get a decent microphone and not spend a lot of money. This is, unbeatable. It you get a good bang for your buck. Spec wise, it's a little light on its specs, a little top heavy, perfect for vocals, and like I said, to increase your mic locker, you're not spending a lot of money. So I appreciate everyone being here. And ZBD TV and Mr. Smooth, I love it that you two are interacting, and that's a good thing, and I'm glad to have been a facilitator of that friendship and that connection, because that's what it's about. And I will wait for one or two more questions, and then after that I'm going to have to power down. But compared to the 440, the LCT 440 Pure, you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong. Okay, so this has been good. I don't see any more questions coming through. I will wait 1 or 2 more seconds, and I will, hopefully this is the questions will be really brief. Bachelor Gamer, he needs my help. I'm getting the API 558, but can only afford one. I have a 550. Is that the EQ? Okay, we're gonna have to do me a favor, Bachelor Gamer, go to the About tab, send me an email, and I can give you a more detailed response. I don't want to just gloss over, and give you a half answer. CKJJ Clan, thanks, mate. Thanks, my brother. I appreciate you for being here, man. Really, I really do appreciate you guys. Really do, honestly. Mr. Smooth says he wants to see the Focusrite. If you're talking about the Reds, how do I like them? I love them. I absolutely love them. Oh, the 558 EQ. Yeah, the EQ. Okay, and then I'm gonna be done. The one thing about API EQs, to me, they're like, okay, I'm gonna use this as a comparison. If you have 2 spices, nutmeg and cinnamon. Cinnamon is subtle. Nutmeg is like bombastic. Nutmeg is an EQ like a Neve, and cinnamon is an EQ like an API. API has a way of just giving a sweet type of sound. It's not overbearing. It's like not too much and not too little. The right amount, and it's forgiving on whatever source, whether you're cutting the low mids or whether you're trying to subtly give a little bit more shimmer to the top end. You can't really go wrong. You can't really go wrong with that EQ. So if you're trying to get your hands on it, and then you would I like in 550? Yes, I would like to have them. I have the JDK Audio 4-band, which is also manufactured by API, and I love it because of its subtle character. You know what I mean? And you can't go wrong with API, period, point blank, full stop. You know what I mean? And that's that for today. So this has been good. I appreciate everyone for tuning in, and I hope everyone has a very good, it's afternoon here in on the East Coast. But if you're somewhere else around the world, good evening to you. And thank you for tuning in. I really do appreciate you guys. And with that in mind, I'm going to say peace. Thanks for tuning in, guys.